Okay, let's talk about the testing timeline, because I know plenty of people have been a little bit worried about testing. So let's see what Ian's response has been. So you're targeting the end of 2022. How comfortable are you about that right now? Do you think it's enough time for testing iteration? Ian says, I think we're feeling comfortable. We wouldn't have announced it if it wasn't the case, especially after the delay of Shadowlands a couple of years ago. I've definitely heard and seen concerns of the community. Oh, it is too soon. Is it going to be rough? And I can understand solely looking at alpha and beta timelines how that might seem to be the case. But if you take a step back and think, is 2 years after the last expansion too soon for the next? Well, no, that's in line with historical precedents. I think certainly our players are ready to move on from Shadowlands. So I think that's maybe just him kind of speaking to the idea that, you know, a lot of game development, I guess just like the way that they're structured, like they have people working the next expansion anyway. Dragonflight has been in development since before Shadowlands shipped and has had the full development cycle that any WoW expansion had in the past. A difference this time is they've consciously decided to have a more focused public test period. In the past, they would start their alpha with less of a state of readiness and then slowly trickle content online over a few months. He says, I forget the exact date, but for Shadowlands, it was like mid-April when alpha started, and it wasn't until sometime the middle of June where even the last leveling zone was available. BFA was again a 3-month gap between alpha launching and Stormsong being available for testing. This time round, all of our zones are ready for testing. That's interesting, right? So they've got every zone ready. And they're going to be rolling them out over the course of successive alpha builds in the coming weeks in rapid succession with focus feedback. There's another post they say that they're going to be doing weekly alpha builds. So I guess, you know, a zone every week. After this week, our plan is to shut down Azure Span and point people at the next thing. Then we'll shut that down and point people at the next thing. We want a focused experience that concentrates feedback, that's better and more accurate testing experience for people playing the alpha, where the zone is actually full of other players because that's where everyone's attention is currently focused. And that's just what they're going to do is they roll out the zones, the talent trees, dungeons, everything else. And as soon as it's all there, we'll move to beta. All right. Look, that actually sounds so much better for like testing methodology. So that's certainly good news by my book for the testing of this expansion. Because previously, like, it's just, you know, boom, madness, so much shit going on, right? And as a tester, the place is completely empty, which is kind of unfortunate. And then for Blizzard, like, they have a massive amount of undirected feedback. And that can be kind of frustrating. For us, though, I think for us testers, I think that's way better. That's going to be better for the content creation cadence as well, which I kind of like too. And I think another thing, like I think about the Pale Beyond, like the game that we're developing. You might not know. Oh, actually, I'll do this for some sneaky promo. So we're also a game studio, in case you weren't aware. I've only mentioned it like once. But like one of the things we've been doing, like say the demo, we've had like focus testing coming in from the demo, and that's been super useful. You know, it's allowed us to really polish that up, and you know, now we've been working with the QA company, and you know, getting like more focus testing. So yeah, the focus is helpful, and certainly this will allow the developers to just have just have things be way better. Yeah, so no, for the sake of testing, man, we need to get some new screenshots and like things up here. Anyway, hey, you can wish to start game if you want. Yeah, that's just way better for testing. So that is definitely pretty good to hear. I'll see if there's anything else from Ian that's, you know, interesting, but doesn't require like a full big thing. Testing similarities to Mists of Pandaria, group loot. Well, I've already heard about group loot, so we don't need to look at that. The profession bag. All right, profession bag. Yeah, so there's a new bag slot, but it's not for normal things. It's a giant universal profession stuff bag, so just all profession things. Hopefully they let that be massive. He basically said, think of what the reagent bank tab is in your bank in town. We realized as we expanded professions that we have materials with the different quality levels and different inputs, so people just don't want more junk in their bags, but at the same time, Blizzard does want to have a whole bunch of crafting materials, so they're just separating the space out entirely and like just giving us like a big humongous bag. So he says that in the past they used to have like skinning bags, that kind of thing, but ultimately that was too fiddly. So they're just going to expand the inventory, pulling all the stuff out of your current bag space and just putting it into a profession bag. So are those going to have a specific number of slots, or is it an endless space? Somewhere in between, not literally endless, but the intent is big. It's not going to be a meaningful constraint in picking stuff up, herbing, or gathering. Right, so this bag here, this basically is going to be fucking massive. And it's going to be like a reagent bank that you just carry with you. That's pretty sweet. So here is some talk about dragon riding. I had the chance to play the alpha the last day or two, and the first thing I want to say is how much fun the dragon riding is. Curious about like the unlocks. Okay, so what you're experiencing, the Azure Span, is basically the starting point. It's the 3rd level up zone. So this is like super early dragon riding that we've been having all of this fun with. So that, like, the basic version's really fun, basically. You'd be getting to this point a few hours in your first day of playing Dragonflight and progress by unlocking increased vigor, faster regeneration, and some active abilities to use. Okay, and that's all account-wide. They quickly realized when they're talking about this... okay, yeah, so basically there's more upgrades to come, and it's all account-wide, so that's great. Anything else? So Blizzard says there's a possibility and even a hope that dragon riding could maybe go somewhere else. They've definitely framed it as an expansion-specific system. There's no necessary path forward, but when we introduce it, whether expansion-specific or not, feedback, if the feedback that they get is, hey, it's awesome, we want to have versions like going forward, they'll happily go along with that. So all I can say here is, Blizz, I really hope you carry dragon riding forward. Please, it is really fun. How did it have an impact on the design? Let's see. Yeah, as you just said, it informed their world design. Okay, so Azure Span, he says, is the single largest zone in terms of sheer landmass in WoW's history. Damn. It's kind of weird because it absolutely is that if you're running around like this. Like, if you're running around like this place is friggin' humongous. But because the Dragonflight is so fast, it doesn't feel humongous. So I suppose you do get the fantasy of traveling through a pretty damn humongous, like, open world. But, you know, kind of like without the downsides. So that's pretty cool. The rest of the Dragon Isles are not too far behind this zone. They are able to add a lot more negative space in between areas of interest and create a more open world feeling, knowing that from the outset they don't have to worry about how a player is going to turn their quest in after they completed it, because they can just walk off the edge of a cliff, hop on a drake, and zip back to where they want to be. That is totally true in gameplay. Looks small on the map. See, the thing is, it does look small because the map is kind of small, but certainly, like, your icon moves across this thing pretty damn slowly when you're just running. For sure. Will it develop over time? So, what does he say? Flying... Okay, so he says that yeah, regular flying hasn't existed until well into expansion. Dragon riding is available day one. So some of our concerns about shrinking the world, effortless traversal, bypassing obstacles, and challenges without any kind of restriction remain, but at the same time, convenient transportation to point B is important and clearly decided by players. The fantasy of a dragon-themed expansion where you have no access to flying early on felt ultimately wrong. For all those reasons, that's why they did this. There's a lot of friction, but there's also mastery to flying on your Drake Companion. We're getting feedback even with the basic starting level of 3 Vigor and those constraints. People are able to sustain flight for incredibly long periods of time with practice. Yep, I found that to be the case. He says that's pretty cool. I agree with him totally in that. You can work and learn to overcome some of those restrictions through practice and experience. We also have the meta progression that is account-wide that will increasingly remove those barriers, making it easier to sustain, to just effortlessly get from point A to point B. That will come in line with your increasing familiarity with the world, exploring these places as a player, knowing what's between point A and B such that you're not losing much in terms of your sense of world if you can get there with fewer restrictions. For the future, it's an open question. They want to be guided by what players prefer. There's certainly a world where months from now, with dragon riding fully upgraded, no one is asking for the return of Burning Crusade style flying, and they're just like, this is awesome, it's faster, it's way more fun. Cool, we'll happily run with that. If people feel otherwise, we're open to that too, but we'll see. This is like way more fun than TBC style flying. It's just so much more fun. Straight up, it's fucking awesome. And in terms of speed, like, you certainly do zoom. It is faster. Like, this is so much faster than a current 310, mount. So I think that's, that's pretty damn important to remember, I would say. And now I've got another Vigor. I can keep myself sustained and really just zoom down into this Kalawak village. Which, I mean, I need to find somewhere else to, you know, so I'm not always just flying here. Actually, let's do another race. Let's do a race. Hello, Bronze Man. I'll do the advanced one. This race is actually kind of fun, so let's just do it. And perhaps the speed that I'll be able to achieve in this race will give me, like, more of an idea of the sorts of speeds that we'll be able to get when we are, like, fully upgraded. Oh, wow, I totally fucked that up. Is it going to reset me? That's the question. Interesting, it did not reset me for touching the ground. So now I've totally gimped myself. Like, I'm going so slow, it's honestly kind of painful. And, like, now that I've kind of fucked myself, I'm kind of going to stay fucked unless I can really get some speed up again. This is going to be so funny. So the good thing is I actually remember my personal best time for this course, and it is going to be so much faster than this. I'd say it could even be 20 seconds faster than this pretty shitty attempt I've done for you now. But even with this, like, slower attempt, like, you're going pretty quick. And zoop. And I should, yeah, there we go. So I'm generating vigor again. Probably want to lose that. Yeah. So the other time when I did this, when I did it perfectly, I was generating vigor for, like, most of the flight, which meant I was able to use so many more abilities during this race than I've been able to this time. So you can go ridiculously faster if you're playing one of these things right, and actually using skill, unlike me. But yeah, it's a pretty dope system, and I'm almost done with the race. And I'll dive back in. So I did that in 99 seconds. My personal best is 83 seconds. So there you go.